Joel, thank you very much. Let's bring you this story. Sunday is World Rhino Day, and it's all hands on deck to protect the remaining populations in South Africa. Now, poaching remains a constant concern for the country, and of course, conservation is more important than ever. And my co-anchor, Jane Dutton, is in Limpopo at the second largest private rhino reserve in the country. Jane, good morning to you. As I speak to you, two suspects have been arrested for trying to smuggle a rhino horn. What are you doing where you are?
Corey, we're looking at that problem and we're trying to find solutions. The rhino population is being decimated as poachers become a lot more sophisticated, whether it's on the ground or darting the rhino from the air. There's a 40-year, more or less 40-year ban in place. Clearly, it is not working. It's got to keep current. And there are a lot of people coming up with solutions, and it seems that the private sector is being a lot more successful here, though it's very costly. One of those is one of the owners of a private farm, Derek Leverton, a former academic and also a rhino farmer. Good morning.
Good morning.
And this is your magnificent place. Thank you. This beautiful koppie in Limpopo. We've just seen some animals galloping past. Rhino is your focus, obviously.
Yes.
It's not a good situation that we are in.
No.
Why is it so bad? What's going wrong?
Well, so we all share the same common agenda of trying to protect the rhino and to preserve the species, but we have different ideas about how that can be achieved. And for the last 40 years, the dominant practice, well, the dominant ideology has been one of prohibition on trade, and it's come from the right place emotionally, but it has failed, as all bans really do if they're extended for periods of time that give the criminal syndicates an opportunity to build and entrench themselves. But what South Africa's done really well, and I think this country needs to celebrate its successes, is it has fostered an industry of private game ownership. And that's unique, and people in this country take it for granted because it's so common to us. But it is unique. You know, South Africa, Namibia, these countries have turned around the loss of biodiversity to the point where South Africa has better biodiversity today than at any point in the last 100 years. And that's not something other countries get to say. And that's come about really from the legislation that allows private ownership of game. And ownership is a tricky word. I certainly don't feel like I own this land or own these animals. We're lucky enough to be custodians of them at the moment. But legislation in this country very intelligently allows and incentivizes people to do this. So in the private space, numbers of species have flourished. So everything from...
Let's talk about dehorning, because sadly...
Sure.
Time is always of issue here, and especially time for them. And I mean, this is what people pay thousands, hundreds of thousands for.
Absolutely. So one of the things that's important for people to understand is that we dehorn largely to keep the animals safer. So there are a number of threats. One is poaching, and if you trim the horns, then they're less attractive to poachers. But rhino also have a very high interspecies combat mortality rate. They fight vigorously. They kill each other more commonly than any other mammal in Africa. So we trim the horns to keep them from killing each other. And I want to emphasize that they grow back. So this shows, this is the amount of horn. If we've dehorned the animal about a year ago and we dehorn again, we'll get this. If we wait about a year and a half, we get this. We wait about 2 years, we get that. So it's constantly growing, and it's actually a race to keep them from rearming themselves. If we took this a little longer, this animal has been sharpening the horn against stones and trees and the ground until it ends up with a very sharp point, and it's capable of inflicting mortal damage on other rhinos.
And the most dangerous thing to a rhino is a rhino. We're going to talk about this more in the Jane Dutton Hour. So this is just a sense of what we're dealing with today, some of the solutions. If we legalize the trade in rhino horn, that could possibly help us. Not only that, it can bring billions into this country over a 5-year period. That and a lot more in the next hour, Chloe.
Jane, thank you. Jane Dutton will be, of course, joining us live from Limpopo in the Jane Dutton Hour at 8 o'clock.